Hello, and welcome to this short demo video on using GaraSign to manage access to enterprise resources. Consider all of the different types of resources you need to protect: internal web applications, production systems, DevOps tools, sensitive files, and email, to name a few. Ideally, the enterprise would be able to centrally manage access to all of these resources, establishing policy from a single interface with the option to enforce a variety of security controls, like multi-factor authentication, device authentication, and approval workflows, as needed. How can you achieve this outcome? Start by implementing cryptographic access controls for all enterprise resources. This is already deployed more often than you may realize. Protocols like TLS, SSH, and remote desktop all rely on cryptographic keys for authentication. With key-based authentication enforced, you can centrally secure all of the keys in a non-exportable state in a hardware security module and deploy GaraSign to authenticate end users through multiple factors whenever they request to use a key. This effectively applies strong security controls on the downstream resources without needing to modify a single web application or server. Let's see this in action for a web application that requires mutual TLS authentication. Here, on the GaraSign admin interface, we can see that our client TLS key is active. When we navigate to the web application, we are able to connect. Now, let's disable the client TLS key. If we try to visit the same site again, the connection fails, as the client cannot use the key to complete authentication. We can easily reactivate the client TLS key and even choose to enforce multi-factor authentication by adjusting the key's policy. Now when we try to connect, we are prompted to enter our multi-factor credentials. After we enter the code sent to our mobile device, we can successfully connect to the web application once again. This architecture can be used to manage access to privileged files and documents, even when they've been downloaded and stored on an endpoint device. This file is encrypted. We can view the file because we currently have permission to use the decryption key. Let's disable the decryption key from the GaraSign admin interface. Now, when we try to view the file, we are no longer able to do so. This is true despite the file being stored locally on our device. The enterprise has the ability to immediately revoke access to locally stored resources. In this example, we used an ordinary text file, but the same principles apply to PDF documents, Word documents, and many other file formats. Let's take a look at email. This email is digitally signed and encrypted with keys that are centrally secured and managed. This second email has been signed, but it's not encrypted. As before, we can easily disable the decryption key with a few clicks. Now, we can still view the signed email, but when we try to open the encrypted email, we receive an error. We can't decrypt the email when the key is disabled. If we reactivate the key, we can view the email again. Last but not least, let's see how this solution works with privileged systems accessed via SSH. Here we can see that our SSH key is active. When we use that SSH key to connect to a remote server, we can do so without any issues. Let's disable the SSH key. If we try to connect again, we are unable to do so, and the connection fails. Now, let's reactivate the SSH key and adjust the key policy to require multi-factor authentication. Let's try again to connect to the remote server. We're prompted to enter our multi-factor authentication credentials. After we do that, we are again able to connect successfully. Note that we've enforced MFA without making any adjustments to the server itself. This is possible across any number of systems, regardless of the operating system in use. In this short demo video, we've seen how GaraSign and a hardware security module or key manager can be used to enforce strong security controls on web applications, sensitive files, email, and privileged systems. It's important to emphasize that GaraSign supports a wide range of security controls, including device authentication, notifications, approval workflows, and more. This solution can be used for additional use cases, including code signing, document signing, and database encryption. Get in touch with the Garantir team to learn more.